What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video on MMA.Unhinged, another podcast. Yet again, me and Oscar are here to break down some fights, to react to some fights, some great topics to talk about on this week's show. How's it going over there in America, Oscar?
It's going great. We're going to have a true UK showcase this weekend. As you know, the London card, it fell apart, and now it moved to Vegas. And for you, it's going to be at an appropriate start time, so I'm sure you're not going to have to stay up or anything like that. So I'm sure this is maybe the biggest fight night of the year for you.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm so excited for this fight night this weekend. Not just to see Darren Till, but we've got Paddy Pimblett on the show, and Paddy Pimblett is one of the biggest stars in UK MMA. Like outside of Darren Till, we've got Paddy Pimblett. But Paddy Pimblett is going to steal the show this weekend. Mark my words.
This is a guy who was offered a UFC contract years ago, and he said, "No, I'm not ready yet." And now he's made the proper improvements. I think he's ready to shine on the big show.
Yeah, not only was he was offered two contracts for the UFC, one at 21 years old and one at 26 years old. He mentioned that on the show when I had him on the show back. It was like quite maybe about 4 or 5 months ago when he was preparing for his last Cage Warriors fight, where we talked all about that. So yeah, he was preparing for that Cage Warriors fight, got the UFC contract, and now he makes his UFC debut against a tough challenger. And we're here to talk about that. But first off, we're here to react of last weekend. We had Edson Barbosa versus Giga Chikadze in the main event, and oh my god, Giga Chikadze put on an absolute show. It's phenomenal. What are your thoughts, Oscar?
Yeah, I believe that Giga Chikadze truly leveled up with this performance. He had the right matchup, a guy who will not take it to the ground, so there was no concern about the takedown here. So Giga Chikadze truly let loose for the first time in MMA, and he looked amazing doing it. He clearly won the first round. The second round was a little competitive, but the third was not competitive at all. He destroyed Barbosa. He knocked him down twice, and the referee had mercy on Barbosa and waved it off. He also attempted a Darce choke. If he was a little higher level in BJJ, he would have finished that, but he's not. The place where he's best is on the feet, and that's what he showed here. He dismantled Barbosa, which is not easy to do. Barbosa tends to lose to crazy power punchers or grapplers. Chikadze is not that guy. He's just technically better than Barbosa, and he's only getting better in MMA. So that's about it for what I think about Giga Chikadze. I think he's gonna be a future title challenger, and this is the fight where we're really thinking he's a top 5 talent now.
Yeah, you mentioned there the word, dismantled. That's the perfect way to describe this. Giga Chikadze dismantled Edson Barbosa, which I thought I'd never say. As you mentioned there, when Edson Barbosa loses, he loses, his top heavy guys. Either it's wrestling or it's one shot KO and that's it. But Giga Chikadze just put on a technical performance against Edson Barbosa. It was beautiful to watch, and I feel like this was really the coming out party for Giga Chikadze. Yes, he had a little bit of hype around him before this fight, but I feel like this is his first big challenge, and he passed with flying colors. Edson Barbosa is no joke. He dropped down from 155 to 145. I still don't know how he makes 145. It's ridiculous, but Edson Barbosa on his day could be a top 5 at 145, but unfortunately he had to fight Giga Chikadze, and is now ranked 8th in the division. And he had a little bit to say about that, but I thought it was the correct decision because Barbosa was only ranked number 9.
Yeah, of course. Barbosa is a bigger name than a lot of the guys in the top 5 anyway. Barbosa is a bona fide UFC legend. I think he's in the area where you could probably put him in the Hall of Fame. He's had 9 Fight of the Nights. That's tied with Nate Diaz and Donald Cerrone. So this guy always comes to fight and to entertain. And he did not look too great against Giga Chikadze. That's how good Giga is. And it was in Barbosa's area of expertise where he tends to give guys trouble. That was not the case. Giga Chikadze looked wonderful. And I can't wait for his next fight. And I don't think it'll be a title shot. I think it's going to be a top 5 guy like Callum Cater. Very much looking forward to that.
You mentioned there a word wonderful. And this was a perfect way to describe this performance. Brian Battle looked wonderful in the weekend. And now he's the Ultimate Fighter. Incredible performance there. Rear naked choke in the second round. He's the new Ultimate Fighter. How did he look?
You look great. Gilbert Urbina, he came in on short notice, and a lot of guys were counting him out, but he clearly won the first round. He came very aggressive. He came to fight, man, and he tagged the Brian Battle. He got his back. He threatened submissions over and over again. He's very aggressive, but as many short notice opponents do, in the second round, they slowed down, and Brian Battle capitalized on that, and he was able to get a submission against the guy who fancies himself a grappler. I think Brian Battle is much more comfortable on the feet, but as we learned on the Ultimate Fighter, he can solve a grappler as well. And so Brian Battle definitely has that double threat, and he showed it once again.
100%. It was, it was a great fight. But that was the tough. That was the middleweight one. But no, that was the bantamweight. The middleweight, yeah, that was the middleweight. I got that correct. But moving on to the bantamweight one, I think we've got a new star on our hands. Ricky, he's going to be a star in the UFC.
Yeah, how could he not be? This guy says whatever is on his mind. He's very confident in himself, and he's a little mix of Tony and Diego Sanchez. This guy comes to fight. He's very scrappy. He's not afraid to take a punch. And Brady Heastand also came to fight as well. Brady is the youngest guy from the season. He's only 23, but he's out here beating 30-plus-year-old vets like Josh Reddinghouse like it was nothing. Of course, Brady Heastand is underdeveloped. This is a guy who may not be UFC ready quite yet, but I feel that you can definitely see the potential in him if he just cleans up his defensive abilities on the feet. I think he gives a lot of guys real problems. But Ricky Turcios, of course, he was in that position that Brady is right now when he fought in the Contender Series. He's on the first episode of Dana White's Contender Series, and he got outpointed on his way to a decision. He's not ready yet, but now he is. He can completely he overwhelm guys on the ground. This guy got his black belt after the fight for a good reason. This guy was looking amazing on the ground, and on the feet he was tagging Brady Heastand bad. And I think Ricky Turcios has the style to become very popular in the UFC.
100%. 100%. If not, he's going to become very popular very soon. After this fight, his Instagram shot up to I think it was 50K on now, which is ridiculous. A great growth for him, a great platform, and now he's the Ultimate Fighter at bantamweight, 29. And oh my, he just gives me vibes of just Tony Ferguson. Even Tony Ferguson, tweet this out, saying congratulations, kid, on winning the Ultimate Fighter. He just gives me vibes of just I come to fight, and I just want to put on a show. He feel like he just wants to put on a show for the fans, and that's what the type of fighters that the fans love.
Yeah, Ricky Turcios, he really gave Heastand a learning lesson here. It looked like Brady Heastand was not quite ready for this, and I think if they do a rematch in the future, it would be even closer. This was a split decision. I don't know how they scored that. It was a very close fight, but it was clear that Turcios was the guy that do more damage. And as I said, if Heastand clears up his clear deficiencies in striking defense, he could go way into the rankings. A guy that I think went way up into the rankings is Daniel Rodriguez when he beat the formerly number 13 ranked at lightweight Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee went back up to welterweight, and he did not perform that well. He was, of course, coming off of 2 ACL surgeries, and Daniel Rodriguez was looking better than ever. This is another guy with an amazing style, super high output, and he tagged Kevin Lee bad. He had him doing the chicken dance in the second. What do you think of Daniel Rodriguez's performance here? Because he looks sharper than ever.
Yeah, he's sharp, he's patient, and he picks his shots with efficiency. When he strikes, he strikes with meaning. He doesn't strike for the fun of it. He picks his shots perfectly, and this is what he did in this fight. He picked his shots, and Kevin Lee, whether he likes it or not, he's a 155-pounder. 170, that weight class doesn't suit him. If there was a weight class in between 170 and 55, that's a perfect weight class for Kevin Lee. But 170, it's not. That's not for him. It's 155, whether he likes it or not. He needs to cut that weight. He said he's top 5 at welterweight or something like that before this fight. I'm sorry, buddy. You're on the wrong mindset. You've just lost Daniel Rodriguez, and Daniel Rodriguez is a phenomenal fighter, but he wasn't even ranked. And I don't know whether he is now, but he should be. But what a phenomenal fight this was for Daniel Rodriguez. Put an absolute clinic. The first round, if Kevin Lee could keep up the pace and his ability that he does in the first round, he'd probably be champion of the world. But he just doesn't have that cardio.
Yeah, 100%. And he does have a win over number 6, Michael Chiesa. He submitted him a couple years ago. But here's the deal. Michael Chiesa is huge at welterweight. And that would be a situation where Kevin Lee is unable to replicate what he did at 155 if they were to fight. And Chiesa has superior cardio. Kevin Lee, he does not have good cardio. And when he can't get those takedowns, he tires, and on the feet, he's really not the best, man. Like a guy who can box pretty well, like Danny Rodriguez, gives him serious pause on the feet. If you've seen those Ally Quinna fights where he lost 2 unanimous decisions, it's very clear that that against really good boxers, he really struggles when he can't get those takedowns. And he did get a takedown in the first, but when he could not get them in the second, it spelled the end for him.
Yeah, a good fight, a good showcase for Daniel Rodriguez. And since this fight, Mike Perry called out Kevin Lee, and they both accepted that fight. So it seems like they might be, fighting after this one. It's surprising to see Lee returns if he does fight Mike Perry. See him return so quickly. But I don't know about that one. But a fight that I'd love to see next for Daniel Rodriguez, I think would make sense. Jeff Neal. That would be a phenomenal fight, 170 pounds.
Wow, that right there could be definite fireworks. And that's actually the matchup I picked for him as well. He now got ranked at number 15. And Jeff Neal, of course, coming off a loss to Neil Magny. I think that one could make a lot of sense. And I believe that there would probably be a finish in that fight.
100%, a phenomenal fight for Daniel Rodriguez. He moves on in his career and looks to get the biggest fight of his career next. Whoever it may be, whether it is Jeff Neal, I know it's going to be a phenomenal fight. And when Daniel Rodriguez fights, he's bringing the action. Someone else who brought the action: Andre Petrovsky and Michael Gilmore. A phenomenal fight. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Petrovsky, I thought was going to have his way with Gilmore on the ground here, but it was not that simple. In the first round, he did get a takedown and was pursuing a finish, but Gilmore toughed it out and made it to the second round. And I was thinking in the second round, Petrovsky probably gets the finish that he predicted. And no, in the second round, Gilmore clearly won the round. He was beating up Petrovsky's legs with those leg kicks. And I was very impressed with Gilmore. I completely wrote him off. I thought he was an UFC level talent. But he made the fight competitive in the second. But once the third came around, Petrovsky got that slam, and he controlled the arm and just pounded him until the referee said he's seen enough. So Petrovsky here, I thought he would tire in the third, but no, he actually got a finish. So I thought I learned a lot about these two guys in this fight, and I'm very excited to see both these guys fight in the UFC again.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, hopefully they do fight in the UFC again. One guy I would like to maybe 100% like to see him fight in the UFC in the future is Brady Alhassan. I'd like to see him go on a UFC development deal, go outside the UFC, get a few fights under his belt, then come back. I think that would make a lot of sense. I think he's got a lot of potential at middleweight. He's got the likes of Michael Chiesa, I think, backing him. So he's got a phenomenal future in his hands. But a few fights away from the UFC, then come back, make his debut. I think he'll be a new fighter.
Yeah, I would love to see him fight in LFA. I think he could be champion there for sure. And
100%. He maybe even Cage Warriors, because Cage Warriors made their American debut maybe a month ago. So maybe that, and I'm pretty sure they're doing more shows. So that could work.
I wouldn't mind that either. And moving on, I would not mind to see Gerald Meerschaert fight another rising prospect because he seems to shut a lot of them down. Makhmudmuradov was the biggest favorite on the card. He was a 6-1 favorite. And I saw a lot of guys in the betting community betting on Murdoch. I was like, what are you doing? This line is out of control. People are completely throwing away the fact that Joe Mearshart has the most submissions in middleweight history. If anybody's going to submit you at 185, it's going to be GM3. And that's what GM3 did here. The first round was going terrible for GM3. My goodness, Mahmoud Murdoch was on his way to getting a finish, if not a 10-8 round. And Mearshart saw that Murdoch was tiring. Of course, there was a foul by Mearshart. And that may have saved him from getting finished. He got a little time to recover, and Murdoch gassed, and he got clipped with a couple good punches from Mearshart. And in the second round, it was clear that Murdoch did not have much left to throw, and Mearshart got the back, and he finished it with a good old rear naked choke. And very impressive for Mearshart to I think this probably the biggest upset of the year betting wise. This was very surprising to see Mearshart survive that, especially after getting slept in 17 seconds by Hamza Chimaev. He proved that he still has a chin, and he can dish it right back after he survives.
You mentioned chin. That's a pretty good segue into the next one.
Yeah, on this show, I told you guys, Abdulrazak Alhassan was a favorite in his last couple fights, and now he's a huge underdog. I was like, might as well take him by first round KO because that's what the guy does. And he once again got another KO, and this was in just 17 seconds with a one strike, huge head kick that sent Deshirko to the shadow realm for a couple seconds. And very impressive. Once again, Abdulrazak Hassan is a lethal striker in the first round, and Deshirko just he had nothing for him for those 17 seconds. And who knows what would happen if this one got out of the first round, but it really doesn't matter because Abdulrazak Hassan will kill you if he has the opportunity to, man. This guy's a murderer. And Deshiriko, I believe he's won one of his last four, and that's not a good look. But yeah, very impressive stuff from Abdulrazak Hassan. One of the best KOs of the year.
Yeah, you mentioned on the preview show last week that he's the middleweight in Ngannou, and yeah, we knew that already, and he basically backed up your statement. But there is a little curse going about here. You're probably aware of it. Buckley not head kicked Impa Kazagné, and then Buckley got head kicked by Deshirko, and now Deshirko got head kicked by Razak Alhassan. So does that mean Razak Alhassan now loses his next fight by head kick?
That's a real possibility. Here's what I said when Deshirko slept Joaquin Buckley earlier this year. I said, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. You know, what you use, can be used against you as well. So that's just how crazy the MMA game is. And if that happens, that'd be absolutely wild. Abdulrazak Hassan, I would like to watch him fight almost anybody. Let's be honest. This guy can sleep anybody in this division on any given night. So any Razak Hassan fight could be potentially good for him. So that's why I like Razak Hassan so much. He's so dangerous, and almost anybody can get slept in that first round.
If I'm correct, Alhassan slept Nico Price.
Yes, he did. Yeah, Nico Price is a guy that's notoriously super durable, and he did not survive a single round with Razak Hassan. That guy is the real deal. And let's move on to two guys that are not the real deal. I'm usually not this negative, but if you watch this fight, you cannot walk away and say these guys are UFC caliber. This was visually unpleasant in every way. In the third round, Wellington Turman, he inflicted 2 fouls onto Sam Alvey. So Sam Alvey, I don't know how well his math is, but he was thinking, "Oh, I got this in the bag. I got fouled twice. I got this in the bag." So he was very annoyed when the judge's decision got read out, and he thinks he's probably out of the UFC. But if you listen to Dana White's post-fight press conference, he did not say his usual. He did not say, "Oh, I think we're done with this guy. I think this guy's had too many losses." what he simply said about Sam Alvey, he fights his heart out every single time. And Sam Alvey was kind of having trouble pulling the trigger at sometimes during the fight. I think if he really let loose more, he could have finished Turman like I predicted him to. But Turman made it a tough fight for Alvey. Turman, if Turman was a higher level guy, he would dismantle Alvey, but he's just not. And this fight was very sloppy on both sides.
Yep, 100% agree with you. You took the words out of my mouth. But sloppy on both sides. You know, a guy that I've interviewed, Sam Alves, one of the the nicest guys I've ever talked to. Always has a smile on his face. Always a gentleman. But after the announce, he wasn't a gentleman. Some slurs came out of his mouth. He wasn't happy with the judges. But there's one thing that with Sam Alves, he's always going to be in a close fight. He's always going to be in a tough fight, and he's always going to put his heart and soul into the fight. This guy will leave everything into that octagon, and that's what Dana White likes about him, what he loves about him. So that's why he's still on the UFC roster. Do I agree with it? I'm not too sure. I did see a tweet on Twitter. I can't remember who it was by, but he said there should be a Dana White Eliminator series where people on their last contract or last fight on their UFC contracts fight it out to keep their job in the UFC. And I thought, wow, take my money now. That's a phenomenal idea.
I thought, to be honest, I thought this was a Dana White Eliminator fight when I saw it on paper, to be honest. But it appears that Alvey is going to stick around. I don't know how long Turman will last with his very suspect chin, but moving on to first round finish.
Didn't stay around.
Yeah, Darren Stewart did not stay around to the second round. Dustin Jacoby was a terrible matchup for Darren Stewart. I told you guys, my most confident picks were Mana Martinez and Andre Petrovsky. Both guys won, but I said if you're not gonna bet those guys, bet Jacoby. Jacoby is a true light heavyweight, former Glory kickboxer, and he was fighting a guy in Darren Stewart who was maybe even a little small for middleweight at times. So Jacoby just big brothered him. He pieced him up on the feet, and he made it look easy. And Darren Stewart just could not absorb the kind of power from a legit light heavyweight.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Darren Stewart, since that fight is no longer inside the UFC, they have parted ways. He did get released, which is, a shame. This guy almost beat Kevin Holland last year. He has these up and downs inside the cage. He didn't want to stay at middleweight because he had a bad cut. I believe that might have been against Kevin Holland. And then he tried to go up to 205. He went back and forth. Or maybe it was against Eric Anders, the first fight. Yeah. That's where he had the bad cut. Yeah. And then the second one, we know what happened there. It was a close fight, but man, Dustin Jacoby gave him a reason to go back down to 185 pounds.
Yeah, maybe he does that outside of the UFC. That's not in the UFC anymore. Pretty crazy. They're keeping Sam Alvey and Turman around, but not Darren Stewart. But nonetheless, Jacoby, he probably would have gotten a bonus had it not been a stand TKO. His first,
yeah, just quickly. Quickly before we move on, I'll quickly go back to the reference that Danny White made against Sam Alvey, where he said he's going to keep inside the UFC because he fights his heart out every time. But what about Kai Kilmaka? He fights his heart out every single time, and he got released from the UFC. So, man.
Yeah, very surprising. I don't get it at all. Yeah, that was a little weird. Jacoby's the real deal, man. I keep on telling you, he's ready for top 15. And I believe Nikita Krylov's the right guy for him next.
Ooh, that's a good fight. I like that. I mean, if he gets it, it was a quick win for Dustin Jacoby. Maybe we see. I mean, Paul Craig was meant to fight this weekend, so it's probably a little bit too quick for him. Maybe they get a Paul Craig in a few weeks or maybe a month from now. Dustin Jacoby versus Paul Craig. That would be a good fight. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I'm down for that one too. You know what? I'm not down for. I'm not down for Thermopolis to stay at 125. She's clearly a strawweight. She looked very undersized in this fight. I told you guys that Aldridge deserved to be a 3-1 favorite in this fight because she likes taking the ground. She won her fight with Kenney, Courtney Casey, because she got those takedowns when it mattered. And yeah, if she was able to outmuscle Courtney Casey, she was definitely going to do it to Thermopolis, who on the feet also is not very good defensively. So Aldridge shined in this fight. She really was in control of every second of the fight. It was not competitive, and Aldrich does not have much finishing upside. That's why she didn't finish this fight, but complete domination, wasn't it?
Yeah, complete domination. JJ, Aldridge, complete dominate the whole fight. And as you mentioned, her name is so difficult to pronounce. Demonopolis. It shouldn't be 125 pounds. Her straw weight is her weight. So this will probably give her a kick in the back. Like she needs to cut down to 115 now. But someone who looked great. We went back and forth on this one. You went for Jamal Emmers in this one. I went for Pat.
Yeah. Man, originally I went with Sabatini, but I looked at Emmer's his stats, and he was bigger, clearly in there, and he rocked Sabatini bad. I thought it was over for Sabatini, but Sabatini was able to get to the ground, and man, we saw clear holes in Emmer's fight IQ, going for a toe hold when you got a black belt with his arm on your leg tugging away. And yeah, this was a this was a really weird submission, but very impressive by Sabatini. Once again, showing that he's a really elite grappler, and I think he gives a lot of problems to guys, almost anybody in this division on the ground.
Elite grappler, but definitely not an elite striker, unfortunately. He landed one strike in this fight, but he got the win. He got, as you mentioned, he got knocked down by Jamal Emmers. Jamal is evidently better on the feet. Got knocked down, and he stayed in his guard for a little bit too long, and Pat Sabatini grabbed that heel hook. And man, when you're in a heel hook, it's like a 50-50 position. It's whoever grabs that. I think Emmers went for the toe hold, and Pat Sabatini went for the heel hook. And man, as soon as that heel hook, went in, you heard it. Jamal Emmers just screamed in pain, and that was it, man. It was a phenomenal submission. But Joe Emmers should have got up. He should have got up. You don't play games like that with a guy like Pat Sabatini. How good he is on the ground, you don't play games like that, and he should have got up immediately.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, let's talk about a fight. You thought your most confident pick was Martinez, but I bet you was worried when the judges got called out.
Yeah, I thought this was a close fight. It was a split decision, and it deserved to be. Martinez historically gets quick KOs, and Kenney has been getting slept as of late. He's 40 plus, and I was thinking this is a really good spot for Martinez to get a quick finish. But it did not work out like that. Martinez, he's got some stuff to work on. Also, his coach, Salsa Leeds, he passed away a couple of weeks ago. That definitely may have affected his preparation coming into this. But nonetheless, he looked pretty decent. Whenever he let his hands go, Kenney was just turtling up, and I was thinking maybe Martinez could have finished them. Poor defensive abilities by Kenney, and he's at that age where he's probably not going to improve too much anyway. Might get cut after this one, who knows? But Martinez, on the right night, he can really sleep a lot of guys with the power he carries. But he just could not land the perfect shot on Kenney to put him away. But nonetheless, competitive stuff. And Martinez, he's got some improvements to make. But I was pretty impressed by it. I thought maybe he would gas because usually he likes to get the quick finishes. He did not. So at least he has that 3-round UFC experience.
Yes, this was a competitive fight for Martinez, but I think this is the fight that will give him the best experience moving forward. This is a tough fight for him, and he's going to learn from what happened on the weekend, and he'll come back stronger. In his next fight, he's gonna land something big, and he's gonna get that KO 100%. This guy's phenomenal. It was a fantastic fight, a little bit too competitive probably in his eyes, and then as I mentioned, in his next fight, I think he's gonna go out there and get the finish. But yeah, very happy to see him get the win. A Dana White looking for a fight product, and I'm very excited to see him fight again.
Yeah, and let's not forget to mention this guy has already beaten the Ultimate Fighter winner, Ricky Turcios. He slapped him in the first round. That's how good this guy is. So maybe
Ricky has the chin.
Yeah, maybe we see a rematch in the UFC. I would love to see it. So a lot of cool stuff coming up in the UFC. But first, we're going to talk about what happened last Sunday between the problem child Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. This was kind of what I expected in the form that I knew Tyron Woodley would land that right hand and tag Jake Paul. But the problem is he did not capitalize on it, and he continued to be a low output, thinking he was winning the fight. That was the problem here. Tyron Woodley was a better fighter, but he was just super low output. That's what lost him the fight. It was a split decision. Did deserve to be a split decision? Not at all. He did not score 10-8. Jake Paul was saved by a 10-8 round with the ropes, and at best, Tyron Woodley won 3 rounds. I only gave him 2, so that lets you know that Jake Paul he simply had higher output. That's all he really needed here. Uh, I didn't know if he would survive the right hand, but the chin is not abysmal. It's not it's not terrible. So that was enough to win in the fight. And we learned that he's got a fighting spirit in him because after he was tired, he was huffing and puffing. He was hurt. He fought on, and props to him for that, beating a 5-time UFC champion, but of course way out of his prime now. And who knows what's next for him. But yeah, I kind of already knew this about Jake Paul. He was a lower level guy, and if Tyron Woodley just pulled the trigger a little bit more, he would have won. But that's not the case.
It's crazy to think this quite possibly could have been Woodley's biggest fight in his career. You know, he's fighting a YouTuber. He's fighting, a YouTube boxing star in Jake Paul, and he got paid the most amount of money he's ever been paid in his career. I think he got was it 1.8 million for this fight, which is
2 million plus pay-per-view.
He's getting paid well, and I'm happy he is. And he mentioned after the fight, he's never been in this sort of fight with this magnitude, this press, the fans. It was a packed out, sold arena. And, Woodley was saying, he's never been in this sort of situation before, which is just crazy. This guy's a 5-time UFC champion, held that belt, knocked out some of the best in the world. And he was saying he's never been here before. And it was just crazy. But as you mentioned, he went back to his old ways. In that Luque fight, he threw his hands, but it was reckless. He looked like he was just trying to prove a point that, yes, I can still knock people out, but Luque is the wrong person you do that with. He's got heart, he's a dog, and he was reckless in that fight. But in this fight, he was, went back to his old way, cool, calm, calculated. I don't think Tyron Woodley will ever get nervous for a fight. He has the same expression for the whole fight, for the whole round, for every minute of the round. It's just the same expression. But what he needed is a little bit of aggression. I think he needed to, after, look at this photo here. Jake Paul is leaning back. If the ropes is not there, he's flat on his back. And that's it. The refs count to 10. But, yeah, as the ropes are there, unfortunately. And I'd love to have seen Jake Paul go flat on his back. That would really have made my weekend even better. So, if they do rematch, Jake Paul knows, and Tyron Woodley knows what he's got to do. He's just got to throw more. He's just got to let his hands go, but still be patient, still be calculated, but just let the hands go a little bit more.
Yeah, Tyron had the MMA community on his back, and he didn't upset us. He just disappointed us, man. That's all I'll say. That's how we're gonna close this one.
Yeah, and just quickly before we move on, Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley after the fight, to get that tattoo, to get a rematch. And we were mentioning before the fight, Jake Paul's a little bit of a prankster. It really would surprise me if Tyron Woodley got that tattoo and Jake Paul said, "No, I'm not going to fight you."
Yeah, there needs to be legitimate paperwork before Tyron gets the ink on his arm or wherever. But yeah, that's probably not going to happen. I feel like Jake Paul kind of proved his point that he could beat a guy like Tyron Woodley. He's probably going to move on to Tommy Fury because his backstage there was a little bit of drama, and of course in the UK I think that could get some serious numbers. And this would probably be in Jake Paul's backyard again. He was really happy about competing in his hometown. Yeah, Jake Paul. I'm really not too excited about seeing fight him anymore because I kind of already know what I need to know when it comes to Jake Paul, and I already know what to expect. I don't think he's ever gonna reach a mid-level boxer level.
100%, I agree with you. And regarding the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight, it's a close fight because both guys they're not elite level, And honestly, I really could see Jake Paul getting the better of Tommy Fury in that fight.
Yeah, 100%. That one would probably be one I would tune into, but watching Jake Paul fight former fighters really not entertaining. I already saw the guy get punched in the face hard. I kind of got my satisfaction that I needed from that. So that's about it. We're gonna move on to the fights this weekend. This Saturday we have a spectacular lineup of fighters from the UK. It was going to be in the O2 Arena. Unfortunately, that did not come to fruition. Now they're in Vegas, and they're going to put on a show, in my opinion. And I'm going to kick things off with my pick for Derek Brunson against Darren Till. My official pick is Darren Till by third round TKO. I believe Darren Till is going to get a really good finish in this fight against the historically chinny Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson has been knocked out 5 times in his career, but in his last couple of fights, he's had the right matchups where these guys aren't putting him to sleep, but they are tagging him at times. Let's be honest, Darren Till is just a higher level talent than the recent young guys that Brunson has been facing. Darren Till has an 83% takedown defense. That cannot be said for Kevin Holland, who we learned that the guy basically had no defensive wrestling. And before that, he fought Edmund Shabazian. Shabazian's a young kid with who's kind of a one-round fighter, and that did not go well for him. Also, who did he fight besides that? Ian Heinisch.
Immovov. Oh,
Yeah, Ian Heinisch. That win has kind of aged like milk. Ian Heinisch has proved to just let down his supporters over and over again. And Darren Till is just a way cleaner striker. He has better cardio, um, and better takedown defense. And that's kind of what you need to beat Derek Brunson. Besides hitting hard, I think that this is a really good matchup for Darren. He's a favorite for a reason. A lot of people think Derek Brunson is worth a stab at the underdog price. I don't think so, man. You betting on this guy is very very nerve wracking because this guy can get clipped anytime and put away. And Darren Till was able to clip the former champ Robert Whitaker. That fight was very competitive. And before that fight, I honestly did not believe that Darren Till was like an upper tier fighter. I thought maybe he's on his way there. No, that fight was so competitive. That was a true chess match, as Darren Till called it, a stress match. Very stressful stuff. Both guys were trying to figure out what the other was going to do, and it was very high level. And I believe Darren Till is high level enough to land the proper shot on Derek Brunson. I believe in the third round he probably catches him with a nasty elbow and gets the ground and pound and gets the win. And he calls out Jared Cannonier or Adesanya. Either way, Darren Till is gonna get a nice win, and he's gonna get his second win at middleweight. Because let's not forget, he's only has one win at middleweight over Kelvin Gastelum.
yeah. The thing is about Darren Till, he doesn't rush his work. We saw that against Robert Whitaker. You know, he's a patient striker, a very, very patient striker. He will feint 50 times in a row, and he might not even throw a strike. You don't know with Darren Till. He's up there with one of the best strikers we've ever seen inside. Ever seen inside the UFC. You know, we're talking the likes of, Anderson Silva, Israel Adesanya. Darren Till is maybe not up there with them, but just a little bit below them. He's a phenomenal striker. That striking chess match we saw with him versus Woodley. No, him versus not Woodley. He got almost got no tag against Woodley, but him versus Wonderboy in London, Liverpool. Man, that was such a phenomenal fight. A great chess piece match. Controversial one on Twitter and Instagram, but it is a great fight nonetheless. And but this one's gonna be a phenomenal fight and a perfect matchup for Darren Till, as you mentioned. I feel like he's gonna clip him inside maybe 2 rounds, and that'll be the end of the fight.
Yeah, Derek Brunson. He's got. I wouldn't say he's gotten lucky because he's clearly made the proper improvements to win his last couple of fights. But I feel like he's been lucky enough not to face a guy as talented and as clean of a striker as Darren Till. So I believe this is going to be the time where we're going to really see Derek Brunson for who he is, a guy he's just a gatekeeper, man. He's going to beat the low level guys, but he's not going to beat the Darren Tills of the world.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned gatekeeper, someone who's definitely opposite of a gatekeeper. That name is Tom Aspinall, and he's fighting Spivak, a short notice replacement. And nonetheless, I still expect him to get this one done. But Spivak is a dangerous opponent, a grappler, which I believe Tom Aspinall hasn't really faced inside the UFC as of yet. Spivak, he has a really tight squeeze. He could, his grappling is very, very good. But if you look at that takedown defense from Tom Aspinall, 100%, that's going to get tested in this fight. And we're going to really know the truth about Tom Aspinall. Is he a legitimate prospect? I do believe so. I think he's a future champion inside the UFC, and we're going to see him, get another win inside the octagon this weekend against Spivak. I think he gets the KO in round number 3.
Yeah, that's my pick as well. Round 2 or 3 for Aspinall. My reasoning for that is Spivak is not super durable, and his gas tank is terrible. And if you thought his gas tank was bad against Olenek with a full camp, he's taking this one on short notice. He had to fly over to the States. It's not going to be good. It's going to be worse than usual. And Aspinall's going to tee off on him and get the TKO stoppage. Aspinall fought Olenek in his last fight, and I was so confident that Spivak would win the fight. I was thinking there's no chance Olenek wins unless he gets a lucky Ezekiel. But it was a competitive fight. Olenek clearly won the 3rd round too, and on the feet. That should not be happening when you have a guy who's like 44 beating you on the feet because you're that terrible of a striker with a bad gas tank. I'm not impressed with Spivak striking at all. It's not clean at all. It's super sloppy. He's only comfortable on the ground. And Tom Aspinall is so comfortable on the feet. He sparred with Tyson Fury in the past. I think he definitely pieces up Spivak, and he makes it look easy. I think he's going to get stuck on his back one time, and that's where we're going to see the black belt come out in Aspinall. Maybe he threatens a submission. If Spivak is super tight, he could get it, but I think Aspinall gets that TKO in the 2nd or 3rd.
Let us be said, Aspinall can grapple too. We saw that in a fight against Andre Arlovski. Went for the takedown, got Andre Arlovski, made a mistake, gave up his back. He snapped that rear naked choke. But is he on the level of Spivak grappling? Nah, he's a different kind of beast on the ground than the wrestling. But we're gonna really learn a lot in this fight with Tom Aspinall, and I believe the hype train will get even bigger in this fight, and I see him improving. As you mentioned, he sparred with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, what's the word? Convinced Tom Aspinall to go on to boxing and have a career on there. Tom Aspinall had a boxing fight, got a KO in the 1st round, but then later returned to MMA. He said, his heart's at MMA. So, as you mentioned, his striking is absolutely beautiful. And another showcase for Tom Aspinall in this fight is going to be phenomenal. His takedown defense will be tested, and we'll learn a lot about Tom Aspinall, even more so in this fight.
Yeah, that's going to be a bonus winning performance for Aspinall, in my opinion. And moving on to the next fight, we're talking about Alex Morono versus David Zawada. This is a fun fight here. Morono's coming out for 1st round TKO of Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Cowboy, he appears to be done, so I wasn't that impressed with that win. But besides that, Morono's he's a jack of all trades. He has equal wins by decision, knockout, and submission. So wherever the fight goes, he can win the fight. And Zawada, on the other hand, how can you not like this guy and be impressed with him after his fight with Abubakar Nurmagomedov, where he submitted Nurmagomedov, which is hard to do. I'm sure Abubakar trained properly for that. I'm sure he was grappling all the time, and Zawada was able to snatch up the submission there. Very impressive. But he's had some tough fights in the UFC. He was fed to the leech, for goodness sake. He got destroyed with a body kick. I don't think Morono's as lethal of a striker as the leech. But man, he's going to give Zawada a lot of problems on the feet in particular. On the ground, it's going to be a little competitive. I think Morono's submission defense will hold up here, and I think he outpoints Zawada on the feet and gets a unanimous decision.
Yeah, this is a very close fight, as you were mentioning. This one can really go either way. And I'm also with you on this one. I'm also favoring Moreno, and I think this is going to be a really close one on the feet. And I'm not too sure. This one's a bit of a risky one, but yeah, I'm going to go with Moreno in this one. And I think, as you mentioned there, I think he's going to outpoint him. This one would, I believe, will go to the scorecards. If there was a finish, though, I would probably go in Moreno's favor.
Yeah, Morono had Max
Moreno.
Griffin locked in almost. He also had Pettis back in the first round. Morono has clearly beaten the better competition, and that's part of the reason why I'm siding with him.
Yeah, 100%. It's a great fight, a good fight on the main card. But you know the next one. The next one's even better.
Yeah,
Modestas Pikowskis. He is from Lithuania, but when you hear him speak on the post-fight interview this weekend, he's British, guys. He's British. He's English, and it's a phenomenal fight. Khalil Roundtree returns after his poor performance against Marcin Prachniow, I believe.
yes, it was. Marcin Prachniow, I believe, was on a 3 or 4 fight losing streak where he got slept in pretty much all of them. He got slept by Sam Alvey. We just stained Sam Alvey's name earlier, so that lets you know what we think of Marcin Prachniow. So that lets you know what we think of Khalil Roundtree Jr. Khalil was flirting with retirement for a long time, and Modestas Blakowskis retirement's way out of his mind. This guy's on the rise. He's only improving. His last fight, I thought, was a robbery to Michal Oleksiejczuk. I thought he had more volume. He did more damage. That was a close fight, but Modestas probably won that. And before that, he fought Jimmy Crute. He got knocked out there. That's why this line is so close. A lot of people think Roundtree can maybe starch Pikowskis, but I don't think so. I think Pikowskis is quicker. I think Pikowskis can find the chin of Roundtree and put him away in the second round here. I think this is very much a firecracker of a fight. Both guys are going to be swinging, and I think Pikowskis lands the better shots and puts away Roundtree, who fought a lower level guy in Prachniow, and he got rocked bad. Like I thought that fight was over for Roundtree. He survived to the third round, but that was such a sloppy fight. Those guys had nothing left in the gas tank, and I think Pikowskis can definitely put it in Roundtree.
Mm-hmm. I have been speaking to Modestas Pikowskis personally during this fight week, and we've been talking about his preparation, how he's feeling for this fight, and I can say personally, he's hyped up for this fight. This is the most hyped I've ever seen Modestas Pikowskis for a fight. This guy is absolutely buzzing. All you have to do is look at his Instagram stories. He's just making some funny videos every day. This guy's got a good personality. He's funny. And he gets the win on Saturday. He gets the knockout win this Saturday, and I'm all for it. He's going to get the KO win, and he's going to get on the mic, and he's going to put on a beautiful speech, and he's going to get a lot of fans this weekend.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Roundtree might once again flirt with retirement after he gets starched by Modestas Pikowskis. And we're moving on to your guy, Patty the Batty Pimblett. You were siding with this guy way before he was in the UFC because he was already UFC caliber, but he just wanted to build up his fans in the UK, and he really did it, man. He was a Cage Warriors champ, and he was putting on spectacular performance. Yeah, double, putting on spectacular performances, flying triangles in his hometown, lighting up the crowd. And I think against Venturmini, I think he might struggle a little because Venturmini, on the other hand, he's such a gnarly grappler too. This guy had what's his name? Dos Silva, I believe Silva at welterweight. He moved up to no,
Alessio de Silva.
no, it's slipping me right now. But the guy was on a 7-fight win streak, and
I'll get to you in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, Eliseo dos Santos. That's his name. Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos. I completely butchered his name. But Zaleski dos Santos was once on a 7-fight win streak with almost all finishes, and one of them was Venturmini, who as you can see, he's a lightweight. He moved up on short notice, and he got destroyed in that fight. But he made it competitive in the first. He had his back. So that lets you know how good he is. And he's got real fighting spirit. In his fight against Perez Ziam, he was down 2 rounds. He's clearly getting outpointed. And what does he do in the third round? Mark Matoni tells him, hey, you got to get a finish. And he rushes Freziam and lands a huge nuke on him and nearly puts him out. And then he takes him down and threatens a submission. I believe that was a split majority decision for Freziam because one judge scored it a 10-8 round for Benjamini. There's a real argument for that being a draw. So Benjamini's going to give him a tough fight. Pimblett says he doesn't see this going to the second round. Do you see him getting a quick finish like he's saying he will?
I see it's going into the second round just because it's his UFC debut. I believe he's gonna not struggle with the occasion. This guy Paddy Pimblett is a phenomenal fighter, and he's been in some of the biggest fights over here in the UK for Cage Warriors. He's a double champ. He was a simultaneous double champ, lightweight and featherweight. He fought Dalby. He did fight Dalby. Soren Back. There we go. He fought Soren Back. He lost the title to Soren Back, but he put on a phenomenal performance against Soren Back. A very, very close fight. He beat Julian Erosa, as you mentioned. But where Paddy Pimblett really shines is his grappling, as you mentioned. The flying triangles off the cage. If Andarumi tries to get Paddy Pimblett on the cage, it's not out the shadow realm that Paddy Pimblett jumps up, flies for that flying armbar, because that's his move. That's his special move. That's what he loves to do. I think he might have 2 of them inside Cage Warriors. He really shines with that move, and I see a submission win for Paddy Pimblett, but in the second round.
Yeah, it's so hard to pick this fight, to be honest, because I know how good Paddy Pimblett is, but Benjamini, on the other hand, cannot be underestimated. This guy's so tough. I don't even think he's only been finished at welterweight, so that lets you know how tough he is. And man, this is hard. I think this one goes to decision. I think both guys are defensively sound. I believe that Benjamini might have the better striking on the ground. Probably give the edge to Pimblett. It's hard to pick. I think this is going to be a situation where we see a split decision, and I'm going to make this the told you so fight of the week. I'm going with Luigi Benjamini by split decision, but not too confident. I just think that Benjamini might be a little disrespected here with all the hype coming in on Pimblett. Pimblett is all very confident. He's saying first there was Brock Lesnar, then there was Ronda Rousey, and then was Conor McGregor. Now it's Pimblett. Pimblett think he's going to be the next megastar coming out of the UK, and could he do it? Sure, but against Benjamini, I thought they would have given him a little bit of an easier fight where he could have fought somebody with a clear grappling deficiency. So, yeah, that's why I'm picking Benjamini. Maybe this was a little too high for Paddy. We'll see. It's going to be a tough fight for either guy, though.
Yeah, 100%. Just one important, 2 things before I move on. The first one is if you look at his losses, he lost against Cameron Elsey, now a UFC bantamweight. Amazingly, back in the day, Paddy Pimblett made 135 pounds. Would you believe that? Anyway, Cameron Elsey, who's now in the UFC, he lost against him back early on in his career. Lost against Nad Narmani, who's in the UFC or was in the UFC.
Yeah,
one of the 2. I don't know whether he's been released now, but he lost against Nad in Cage Warriors, and then he lost against Soren Back, who's over in Bellator doing phenomenal things over there. And I think he might be in the top 10 over there at 155 pounds. A phenomenal fighter. So, but if you look at his last 2 wins, David Martinez and Decky Dalton, not the names that stand out, but he got that. He got them 2 wins to get himself inside the UFC, and now it's for him time to showcase what he can do inside the octagon, and he will get a second round submission. But before all that, make sure you pay attention to his walkout. If you think Darren Till has a good walkout, you've seen nothing. Paddy Pimblett his entrance is second tonight. It's one of the best I've ever seen in the world, and he's gonna improve. He's gonna impress everyone with his walkout. But that's if BT or ESPN show it. I hope they do. Sometimes they skip the walkout, and it frustrates me so much.
Yeah. I heard it's really good. Eric Hawani's been hyping it up. I've yet to see it, so I'm excited to see what he does in that walkout. I heard the theme song is real catchy. We're gonna move on to the prelims. you don't want to miss Patty Plymouth's entrance or the prelims. Molly McCann, she's fighting Jim Jeon King, and this is a close fight. As you see right there, it's a pick'em fight. It's hard to choose a side, but I'll choose the side that has a 10-inch reach advantage. Kim has a 10-inch reach advantage, and her style is very boxing heavy. She rarely throws kicks. She really doesn't like for it to go to the ground. Molly McCain likes for it to go to the ground as well, but I think with the boxing style of Kim, she's going to use the jab effectively, and I think she can outpoint McCain here. I just think that the length of Kim could give McCain some serious problems.
100%. If you look at Molly McCann's mentality heading into the fight, she feels like there's pressure in this fight because she feels her job's on the line a little bit. So she's going into, she needs to get a phenomenal performance, and I believe she will.
Yeah, this is a tough one because this is a battle of styles. McCann needs to take this one to the ground because on the feet it's gonna be hard to reach Kim. So on the ground, McCann will shine. On the feet, Kim will piece her up, I believe. So I think this is going to be a close one, probably a split decision. But I'll side with Kim just because that length could give problems to almost anybody.
Yeah, 100%. A fantastic one. We got Shaw, 14-0, one of the best prospects at bantamweight against someone who just fought on the Ultimate Fighter, Ludovic.
Yeah, this is a wonderful matchup. Jack Shore is a 5-1 favorite for a reason. He's undefeated, 14-0. He's finished most of his fights by submission, and I think he does the same thing to Ludovic Shalonian here. Ludovic has clear gas tank issues. He's an all or nothing kind of guy. He's an Armenian wrestling champion. In every single round he was on the Ultimate Fighter, he made it competitive. The Ricky Turcios fight was the best fight of the season. Those guys were swinging bombs. They left it all out there. And in that third round, when you're that tired, there's no way Jack Shore doesn't snatch up a submission.
Yeah, I thought this was quite a good replacement. To be fair, Ludovic, he's a great wrestler, a great fighter. So this is a dangerous fight for sure too, but he's 40-0 for a reason. And I think he stays undefeated this weekend. He's a fantastic prospect at bantamweight. And if he gets the win on this weekend, you know what? He's a very, I don't know, but does he get on the mic and call Sugar Sean out? I mean, I predicted it the other week with Brian Kelleher. I said, Brian. I said he'll get on the mic and he'll call out Sugar Sean. Sugar Sean is always at the end of the tongue with his bantamweights, and Shaw could be another one. He's unranked. Sugar Sean wants to fight an unranked guy because he feels like he needs to get paid more to fight these ranked people, and I feel like this is an opportunity for Shaw to get on the mic and call his shot.
That would be a really fun matchup, but I don't think this is the style that Sugar Sean prefers to fight against for now. Shore will probably end up fighting Sugar Sean because I think Shore will crack the top 15 rankings soon enough. And we're going to move on to my pick for fight of the night. I think Julian Erosa versus Charles Jourdain is an awesome fight. How can you not love this fight? Julian Erosa is coming off of a KO loss to man, I can't remember his name, but it was a gnarly one, and he's fighting Charles Jourdain, who tends to win his fights by KO, even when he gets knocked down in the first. Charles Jourdain is the true fighter. Who was it?
Song Woo Choi.
Yes, Song Woo Chu. Song Woo Choi. And he got knocked down bad and finished. And Charles Jourdain, he fought Josh Kulabau. He was a massive favorite. That was a draw. Charles Jourdain got knocked down by Josh Kulabau, and in the second he rallied, and the third as well. In the third, one judge even gave Charles Jourdain a 10-8 round because he was beating up Kulabau so bad. So that lets you know that Jourdain has a really good gas tank. He's gonna fight for every minute of those 15 minutes. And also, when he fought Marcelo Rojo, he got tagged in the first. And what does he do? He finishes him in third. So he's going to fight for every minute. And Julian Erosa, He usually wins fights because his opponent's gas. Usually does what Jordan does. He takes a beating early, and he beats them up when they get tired. Here's the problem with Julian Rosas having this match against Charles Jordan. He's not going to have a tired guy in front of him, so he's not going to be able to capitalize on it. And he has a suspect chin, so I think Jordan cracks him in the second and finishes.
You said at the beginning, how could you not love this fight? Well, I don't love this fight. Why would there be one reason why I don't love this fight?
You're a Julian Rosas fan?
No, because it's not Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy versus Charles Jourdain. That would have been an absolute banger. And I love Lerone Murphy. He's probably at the top of my list of the guys I'm most high of inside the UFC right now. He's fighting out of England. Lerone Murphy's got a bright future ahead of him. And I just wanted to see Lerone Murphy back inside the cage. He's been so long.
Yeah, the winner of this fight should fight Lerone. Because Lerone is a monster, man. I think that's another guy with a massive potential. This featherweight division is crazy stacked.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. We were talking about Paddy Pimblett at the top of the card. He's fighting he's fighting at lightweight for this fight, but we have talked previously. He does want to go down to 145 pounds, so he's going to be checking with the UFC whether they want him to go down. But he intends to go down to 145 pounds, so he will add to that featherweight division.
I would not mind the rematch with Julian Rosa. That would be very fun to see that, because the first one was controversial. A lot of people thought that Rosa deserved to win. It would be so much fun to see it again. The next fight, it's pretty fun as well. Dalcha Lungiambula, the judo specialist with a crazy power in his hands, fighting Marc-Andre Barrel, who he fought to a split decision against Krzysztof Jotko in his UFC debut. That lets you know how good he is. He fought, was it Abu Azaitar in his last fight? And that was a super sloppy fight at the end, because those guys were tired beyond belief. I don't think I've ever seen a human being so tired in my life when Abu Azaitar was in there with him. The guy was so tired, his mouthpiece fell out of his mouth because his mouth was wide open, and he reached down to grab it, and he fell. That was almost pathetic, you know. And Dalcha Lungiambula, he doesn't have a great gas tank either, but it's not as bad as Abu. So I think this is going to be about who's the stronger guy. And Dalcha has those judo hips, man. The guy's built like a brick house, man. And I think he's going to be stronger than Marc-Andre Barrel. Marc-Andre likes to wear guys down against the cage in the clinch. And I don't know if he can outmuscle Dalcha like that and do that. So I think Dalcha gets a couple takedowns here and wins the decision.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. If you look at Dalcha's, physical shape, he's in incredible shape. If you look at the guy, I think he lost to Magomed Ankalaev, maybe,
Yes.
with that massive front kick down the middle. Was that his debut?
It might have been. I'm not sure.
But yeah, he, as you mentioned, though, he's got incredible power in his hands too. And we've seen in the past with Marc-Andre Barrett that he's very patient with his hands. But against Oscar, was it against Oscar Peixoto? Wait, he starts.
Yeah, he got the KO.
Yeah. So that's the key to victory for Mark. Is just let them hands go. But if he does let them go, he gets really tired. So it's a hard one.
Yeah, it's a tough one to pick. Dalcha Lungiambula, in my opinion, should not be the underdog here, because I just think that the guy's really strong. And Marc-Andre, he got out-muscled by Jung-Young Park. He got completely out-wrestled over in South Korea. That was an unfortunate result for him. And I think Lungiambula can do something similar.
Yeah, but it's a phenomenal fight, and I'm very excited to see it. I believe there will be a KO in this one, because both guys are going to be either really tired or they're going to be clipped early on. I'm definitely tuning in for this one. I can't wait. But one you should definitely tune in for. Yes, it's the first fight of the evening, but you should always watch the first fights of the evening, these first guys, because they're always the most entertaining. The ones that you miss are always the best fights. And Jonathan Martinez versus Marcelo Rojo, they're going to have an absolute phenomenal fight. And these two guys are going to go at it. Jonathan Martinez is coming off, a big loss against David Grant. He got finished in that fight. A big left hook over the top, knocked him out. But Marcelo Rojo has one of the best post-fight celebrations. He does like the Jurassic Park, the T-Rex thing. It's phenomenal, but we still haven't seen that inside the UFC cage, and I still don't think we're going to see it. I think Jonathan Martinez gets back in the win column.
I do too. The reason he's not a huge favorite here is because some people are questioning his durability after he got slept by Davy Grant in his last fight. But let's not forget, the first round of that fight was arguably a 10-8 round for Jonathan Martinez. He knocked down Davy Grant and was trying to put him away. But man, Davy Grant just made Martinez taste the power, and it made Martinez a little timid and eventually got knocked out. I think Martinez has a lot of potential. He's very talented. He's starting to put it all together. He's training with the great James Krause, who seemingly has the ability to change fighters and make them significantly improve. And Marcelo Rojo, on the other hand, he's actually one of Brandon Moreno's teammates. He was in his corner when he won the championship. So he's training with some really good guys down in Mexico. And I think he has the power in his hands to put away Martinez, but I don't know if he can land the proper shots on Martinez before Martinez lands the counter shots to put away Rojo. Rojo has been finished in the third round multiple times. That's a clear gas tank issue. In the Charles Jourdain fight, he got finished in the third round. He nearly put away Charles Jourdain. I think Martinez is a tough guy. I think he survives the barrage early, and in the third round, he puts away Marcelo Rojo. If the Charles Jourdain versus Julian Erosa fight is not the fight of the night, this will be. This will be ending in a finish, and both guys are going to put it all on the line.
100%. I'm so excited for this one. We're in for a treat this weekend if you're from the UK. It's an absolute showcase. I'm so excited to see it, and they definitely helped us out with the times too. So I'm very happy about that. Anyway, the main event of the evening: Darren Till versus Derek Brunson. Even that alone, if they had a card with just one fight, Derek Till versus Derek Brunson, I'm still watching, and I'd probably still even pay for it because it's Darren Till. Darren Till's fighting, everyone's watching.
Yeah, Darren Till is one of the best fighters on social media. This guy loves to entertain, and I think he'll entertain the fans once again with this spectacular finish of Derek Brunson.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so excited for this weekend. Darren Till, Paddy Pimblett, Tom Aspinall, Meatball Molly. Who else am I missing?
Modestas Pikowskis.
Oh, Modestas Pikowskis. How can I forget? Sorry, Modi. And man, there was one guy that should have been on this card, Lerone Murphy. Visa. It wasn't injury. It was Visa. So such a shame. Anyway, that really would have topped this card off, and that would have made it, one of the best cards I've ever seen. But this weekend, we're in for an absolute treat. We've even got Katie Taylor. I don't know whether you're a fan of boxing, but an Ireland boxer, Katie Taylor, an absolute phenom over here in the UK for boxing, women's boxing. She's amazing. She's also fighting this weekend. Very high on her. So maybe I'll talk about that next week. Hopefully she does get the win. But man, Darren Till is going to put on an absolute performance. I'm so excited. I presume you're excited. And let's round this off.
Yeah, make sure to enjoy the fights.
100%. That's it. Oscar's put his last words in. Make sure you enjoy the fights, and make sure you don't miss the early fights as well. The early fights are always the best fights. The ones you miss are always the ones that you have to go rewatch because they're amazing. And also, make sure you watch Paddy Pimblett's walkout because he's going to entertain, and it's going to be the best walkout you'll ever see inside the UFC. Ladies and gentlemen, tune in this weekend. One of the best UFC fight nights we'll have in a very long time. Thank you very much for joining. From me, Oscar.